Today we read the book of Revelation, chapter 7, verses 1 to 4 and 9 to the end. This year, Armistice Day happens to fall on a Wednesday, so we get to have a chance to think about this awesome passage in Revelation. I always think the best way to read Revelation is to enjoy the lovely images, wallow in them even, and not to fret too much about pinning down their precise meaning. They defy pinning down, really, this vivid metaphorical imagery. For example, it's a great mistake to read that number 144,000 and think that there are that many places in heaven and no more. On the contrary, 12 by 12 represents the most complete and full number imaginable. And in a moment, the writer refers to an innumerable crowd singing God's praises. This is the whole people of God through the ages, a multitude whom no one could number. And the vision gives us a glimpse of the worship of heaven, the angels around the throne singing the praise of God, worship in which we join when we sing God's praises. Then we come to the reason this passage is read on this day. Who are these, robed in white? They have come through the great ordeal. Their ordeal is not specified, and there are many types of ordeal. But today, of course, we think of the ordeal of war, of battlefields, of conflict and destruction, of weapons and bombs, and terrible inhuman acts of killing and maiming. Those whom we commemorate today, who gave their lives for their country, were most likely covered in mud and blood and filthy and disfigured. Yet we have this tremendously moving phrase: they have washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb, and now they are more white than soap or bleach could ever achieve, washed, pure, clean. This is a process which begins at our baptism, but is not completed until we come before the throne of the Lamb. Earlier we read of the 144,000 being sealed. That is a mark of a special kind of protection for a time of particular suffering. And the book of Revelation was written for people going through great suffering from religious persecution. It was to give hope in the midst of defeat and despair. Notice that God does not take his people out of the suffering, even though they are sealed, marked with the seal of the Lamb. Nonetheless, they go through the great ordeal, through it and out the other side, where there will be no more hunger or thirst, and where God will wipe every tear from their eyes. I wonder what image of God you have in your mind. Is God stern or kind? Revelation does a great job of showing us God's utter rejection of evil. That's very stern. Alongside also God's tender love, very kind. I hope that after reading this passage you'll hold in your mind some of these words, these pictures and ideas of God, because St. John the Divine repeatedly refers to the Lamb. The Lamb is at the centre of the throne, he says. So at the heart of God then is something small, gentle, fairly helpless. Something that allows itself to be sacrificed, to be put to death. Fans like me of the Narnia books will know that the great lion was also a lamb. And of course the Bible speaks of the Lion of Judah. Read verse 17 again, the last verse, and picture that scene to yourself. Allow it to nourish you, to sit in your mind today. If your mental image of God is rather stern and perhaps judgmental, and most of us have that kind of picture somewhere within, change it for this one. The Lamb is also our shepherd, our carer, our guardian, the one who guides us into places of refreshment and strength, the one who wipes the tears from our eyes. What a picture of intimate motherly love that is. The one who comforts us and loves us back into well-being. We cannot escape the trials and tribulations of this life. We're not meant to. But we have been given the survival kit that we need. It's all there to draw on for the asking. And one piece of kit in that bag is the perspective of eternity. The final victory over evil has been won by the Lamb, our Lord Jesus Christ. Salvation belongs to the Lamb. The outcome is known.